Hi everyone, so we're gonna get started. Yesterday my Wi-Fi was down, which was such a bummer, so I couldn't teach my class, my typical Zoom class, so this is the makeup class. I am so apologetic for technology and there's nothing we can do about it. I guess just laugh and try to make the best use of the time that we have. But here is an extra little class for you. All right, so we're gonna get started. You're going to need towel. Rolled up blanket is actually what this is. And I've got my yoga block, and I also have a stretch band. So what we're gonna start with actually is being on the blanket, and I encourage you to have kind of a thick, dense blanket. This blanket is actually pretty good, and it's pretty dense. So we're gonna lie back, placing right across the heart rate monitor spot on the blanket, and interlacing your fingers at the base of the skull. So what we're going to be working today is really actually kind of the pelvic awareness core connection, so pelvic floor, deep abdominals, and then moving our pelvis and our legs in all these different ways that not only strengthen our hips and pelvic connection, but really intensify and kind of brighten that core connection. And by core, I specifically mean pelvic floor. Pelvic floor musculature connects into the deep transverse abdominis, which connects all the way into the deep spinal muscles. So when I say engage your core, I don't just mean suck in your gut. It means close the pelvic elevator completely shut. So for women, it's the vaginal walls narrowing closed, not through the rectum, but in the front. It means pulling the deep abdominals in closest to the front of the spine. And it means feeling tone in the deep, deep back, like a hose filled with water. Okay, so I'm gonna inhale. So really what I'm doing here is I'm stretching my whole body, kind of a macro stretch. Inhale and exhale. And this is really important because even though I'm going to be working very specifically kind of from the belly button and below today, we need to make sure that we feel supported by and grounded in the upper body as well, especially if we're going to put nuance attention in the lower half, so that the body feels that yes, we're doing some good deep work, but it's all in the context of this larger frame. And when we kind of look at it from that perspective and exercise from that perspective, it somehow makes more sense to the body. The body has a little more context as to what we're doing. So right now, we're stretching the core. So we're keeping the pubic bone anchored, but we're stretching our rib cage and our chest, head away from what we're going to call the core, which is down below the belly button, and then that climbs up towards the upper portion of the trunk. So we're stretching, and then as we exhale, we don't just raise our head up, but we activate in our core below the belly button, that narrowing of the pelvic floor, and we pull in and up through our core as we bend the bones of the spine. Two more, inhale and exhale. You can always do this without such a high towel, or excuse me, blanket. You could just do a tiny little towel. It doesn't have to be really large. One more. And exhale. All right, so we're gonna keep challenging the stability of our pelvis. You're gonna take your yoga block. If you have a magic circle, you can use a magic circle instead. The yoga block is nice for this exercise because it's narrow. And you're gonna twist. So I'm gonna twist my rib cage to the left. Again, I'm strengthening my core connection by rotating my trunk, which would ostensibly make my pelvis want to tip to the left, but actually I'm keeping my pelvis really stable, and I'm just mobilizing my rib cage and then going to the other side. So in that stability of the pelvis, it's getting strengthened because it's being challenged by the mobility of the rib cage. Two more times each side. One more time each side. Feel the depth of the left side rib cage press into the blanket while you really feel your pelvis stable with that yoga block, not moving at all. One more time, other side. And bring it back to center. Perfect. We're gonna come off of our blanket. So I'm gonna encourage you to just roll over to your side. Don't even bother with coming all the way up. And then come, put the blanket off to the side and come lying back onto your mat. You're gonna take your towel. We did this, I think, last week. And you're just gonna roll your towel so it's kind of a long, thin piece, and then you can fold it into another third or half. So it's just kind of a good flat surface.